So I decided, okay, this is how I'm gonna do it. And then all of a sudden, within 48 hours, I go on my phone, and every single video that friends and family and people are sending my way or that are popping up on my algorithm had to do with violence. Fortunately, I think it was probably around the time when something happened with the media and everybody was just seeing true crime, news and the news and CNN. Everybody was on TikTok and Instagram this one time in January. I don't remember. But anyways, all of that happened, and I started to understand. It was as if I was living in the moment and seeing suffering to goodness. A little bit of everything happening in between. So all of a sudden, I was able to learn a lesson about people. And then I started to talk about it a little bit, and it freed myself. And what was actually there was some type of guilt. It was the guilt of, what would they think about me if I open my mouth? It's so funny because I've always been with people my whole life, but for some reason, that period felt like I had forgotten how to. And I needed to walk my way to remembering again. It was crazy. I literally watched it happen from start to finish, and I had to document my journey in this one lesson, right? Another thing that came up from when Ashley was talking about, and I can jot it down here, was multiple persons, right? So I struggled for some time with the idea of, my goodness, I am me sitting right now, but at the same time, in 5 minutes, I'm standing in front of my mirror in the bathroom, and I'm doing silly faces and just dancing, and I'm like, who's that person? Like, who's that person? Who's this person being serious right now? So, guys, it helps me understand people more in the sense that, okay, if this to me is being serious and that to me is being silly, then this is literally everybody else. That means I can, mirror and mask the person in front of me and vice versa. So, in opening up ourselves, in understanding things that way and seeing everybody else our own version, it makes it easier to understand that we're one, where we don't necessarily have to tie differentiation so much that we get complicated. So I feel like I'm complicating myself right now. Let me get straight to the point. The fact that we're able to, see other people in front of us, we're also able to understand we are not there. It makes it a lot easier, I guess, in relating with people. So back to the conversation there with the person. For me, it's definitely been sometimes even having to put myself down in order to sort of uplift that person, but at the same time understanding that it's just for the moment. Sometimes we have to do these things just because it's your family. And it's like, oh my God, I gotta prove myself to. But one thing I found out that, anything that happens at any point in time, it is supposed to happen for that moment. And that's the reason why it's happening. There's always a lesson. There's always something to take away from any given situation. I experienced a couple of moments yesterday where I promise you guys, within about a 10 to 15 minutes span, there was the observation of a miracle, of something extraordinary, where I will think a thought and I will see it play out within a couple of seconds. And then another one happened that I probably should talk about now. There's a route that I always take home. For some reason, in here in Houston, no highway. And for some reason, I ended up on another side of the road when I'm so sure that I was on this side of the road. like there's a glitch in the matrix, guys. That's going on. Is what I'm trying to say. We should probably talk about that for another topic. But how this ties back into people and multiple persons, it's really the more that we're able to open our understanding people as well, and not closing ourselves off because somebody pisses us off. The more we're able to do this, the more opportunities in other realms also opens up for us. It's like multiple opportunities all happening at once. Yeah.
I love the mirror effect, as within, so without. And thank you for bringing that to the conversation, Sophie, because everything literally is apparent. Let's read some of these comments real quick because they're going in. Your words have arrived, DOA, in my ears, and I have no attachment to what's coming out of me. Bars, oh, thank you. Victim mentality plus savior complex do not more create alignment or flourish in relationships, not at all. Yeah, and thank you for that. Was something that's in regards to bringing compassion to my house, to be more in compassion and less in the judgment or projection, because I had to see what is this experience going through this person. Where do I still have victim mentality? Where do I still have this complex of needing to be saved or feeling to be saved? Where do I may feel like I'm tiptoeing around and all the things? So I feel like this was a beautiful reflection in which I was able to see myself, and that's where compassion came, but also seeing where the boundary needed to be set in regards to me not allowing myself to the past, in a sense, to merge into the present, meaning me to deal with, because that's an old version of Ramel, who would have been like, oh my God, let me save you, let me, whatever the case, or let me even be mad at you. Because the thing was, they kept thinking I was mad or angry. And I had to express to them, like, I'm not angry. I was frustrated and I let it pass through me. I was irritated and I let it pass through me. But I actually am not angry at the moment because I was able to process, honor, and express those feelings and release them. So anger is not what I feel. I'm not even disappointed because that means that I expected something from you. And who you're showing me is who you are. And I embrace that. I actually have so much love. So there was so much understanding because I was able to, like you're sharing, mirror myself and this person. And when you're able to see that everything is truly a reflection, the less projections you have about who someone is to be what they need to be doing, and you have more acceptance of seeing like you are who you are where you are, and I can honor that and allow you to be, because even the friend who is like trying to force me to have this awakening, I have to see, well, this is the mirror of where am I trying to force someone to see life through the lens in which they're not seeing it. So I was able to even see the mirror in that. Because everything, when it triggers you, those feelings didn't just come, they didn't just get inserted in you. They've been inside of you. They just, that trigger hit a wound that you haven't healed yet. So for me, like, noticing the reflections is able to allow me to see where I still need to do my own work and where I need to honor the work that others need to do. And that's where the compassion can come in. That's where the understanding and honestly the love, because that's what is really needed. And wherever you're feeling disconnected, that means that love is being expressed. So even like with all of these things that I shared, for me, what grounds me in peace is knowing that the love that I'm expressing through what I have experienced on both realms. And that's where life is always teaching you, but are you open to receive the lesson? Because in the lesson comes the blessing, and that's where expansion and growth happens. And I landed there. Sister Angelique was coming through for you.
Yes, you must be feeling my energy. Because when you said that you were angry, but this person was like expecting you to be angry, or like thinking or feeling that you were angry, right? That's a that's something that they're clearly accustomed to, right? Like that's a response that they are used to having to fight or confront. But what's so beautiful about navigating the situation with you is that you had your frustration, your irritation, and you honored those feelings. But when you chose to have this conversation, it was more clarity. It was more
Because energy, y'all, like everything is energy. I will always speak this, teach this, preach this, say this, because that's the nature of what everything that exists in this universe. And y'all, like, you may not say something, but your energy speaks louder than your words can ever express. Because what you don't say is felt. And someone can feel when you're in a energy of complaint, of drama, of chaos, because it's what you carry. And even if you're not physically in a space, like say if you are in someone's space and then you leave, your energy, the residue resides in the space that you were just in. And that's where you have to clear out that energy to be able to be back into your space of whatever it is that your residency of energy is. So for me, having that awareness, I knew that this person's energy was low when I started to really speak to them and see like, okay, you're in the victim stage. You're this and okay. But having the choice to say, okay, am I going to try to in regards to Nora, like, am I being guided to support you or are you wanting me to be a solution for you? And if you're being for me, if I feel guided to support, ooh, if I'm being guided to support, because what was about to come out, I was trying to speak with the heart. I always will reside there to let it express the truth that wants to speak through me. But the support for me, it feels like it's not a force. Versus if I'm trying to be a solution, I am forcing an answer to a problem to reveal itself to me. But when I'm in support, it's a flow, meaning things are just flowing through me. The energy exchange is just in this beautiful dance of give, receive, and it's just like in that alignment. But whenever I'm in that savior or that like wanting to be the solution, I'm trying to force you to see it. I'm trying to force you to hear it. I'm trying to force you to receive it. And for me, that's how I know I'm not honoring the support that is wanting to flow through me because I'm trying to force you to see something, receive something that is not meant for you in the time that you want it. So if someone is seeking for you to be the solution, understand that you can't create a solution or create a solution with the same mind that you create the problem with. So a lot of times people analyze you to be that, but the problem mind is still what they're operating in. So that's where it's like they can't even digest or process the solution that you're giving them because their mind just wants to pick apart and find a reason to why the problem is the problem. So like having that awareness for me supports me in knowing when I'm talking to deaf because it's like, well, I'm going to waste breath. You're not receiving it anyway. I stop talking. And I honor you're just not ready for this. Versus when it's something that you're ready for, what I'm speaking is within you. I can't even see with my eyes, but I know I'm getting your heart will grow through your own water and nurture. So for me, like Laura, that's what supports me and like why I'm being guided towards someone. Or if I'm trying to be the solution to a problem that they experience within themselves. Y'all have to chime in that.
What's coming up for me is, exactly the way you had said it there. The vice versa support. For me these days, friendships, it's just very important that I'm able to support you and you're also able to support me. If we say we're friends, then I should not have to just keep pouring and pouring and pouring. There has to be some type of reciprocity. Either in money or in great words of wisdom. That's like I need to have a wow, aha moment for
Mm.
me to even want to call you friend. It's very, very vital as well because I prefer to operate in high energy. So it's very important for me to always, do this. But in situations where I find myself overgiving, because guys, I have the tendency, if I'm not in sync and in flow, I'm an overgiver.
Mm.
I will freaking lay on the ground and be like, here, come, step on me. Okay, it's okay, I'll be fine. I'll be, yeah. And you know why? Why I do that is because I had to go back in my background, like, okay, there had to have been something in the childhood that happened because, I have, endured some type of suffering. So because of that, there is like a bed that's like an arms ready something that is sitting there that I can always be like, oh, I'll be fine. I've gone through it before, so I'll just give myself again because I'll be fine again. I know how to get there, even though it's gonna take me a year. So I have to go back and be like, girl, okay, ask yourself the question again and again and again. Now, do you still want to go with it? And so always finding ways to check back with myself. Sumi, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Are you breathing deep? How shallow are you breathing?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, we just need to always find ways to stay in sync and making interesting decisions, right? So it's been always checking with myself, always. And with people and boundaries, I think it's gotten better. I've gotten better. Now, as a matter of fact, I think I've probably torn it down because sometimes I feel like I'm there. I'm just going to be tough. But why are you trying to talk to me? I got to talk back at you. But, I comment. They're fun. They're fun. I also I enjoy stepping into the dark side just once in a while in order for me to feel human again. It's like all period. There isn't really a good or bad. Let me say this right now. Like everything is energy, everything is an experience, everything needs to be experienced, right? So when you're born as a human being, and you're like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Oh God, I don't want to let this friend come in and stay with me, but I'm just gonna do it anyway because we have history. Experience. You really, as I am like, I'm just gonna leave it now small a little bit on this side for 1 month. It's an experience. We may not agree that we did take that because we were in sync or in flow. Everything was going okay. But before, there was no experience. So it's like, you know what? Like this time, right? It's really seeing our experience. We don't get bogged down by it. We don't review by it that makes us that drives us nuts, right? So it's typically good to be okay with that. You know what? I agreed to it. I knew this was going to happen because I felt it when I took the conversation, but okay, it's almost over. Over and then next, right? So I like the idea of always doing this that I'm not, feeling like I'm not gonna wait 2 more days, 1 more hour. Oh my God.
So much for your contribution, man. Love and like,
Thank
Yes, thank you for that, Sumi. Um, wow, I really love the idea of just allowing yourself to have experiences to grow you, because even if that's not our intention going into something, right? Like, so for instance, because this is about Ramel today, um, when Ramel's friend asked about having a space to crash, you know, it may not have been the first thing on his mind, like, ooh, this is gonna be a big growth opportunity. I'm ready for this irritation to stretch and expand me. Ooh. However, something about the experience, his his soul wants it, you know? It wanted to go through this to be like, no, this is something new. This is something outside of my comfort zone. It's like a way for me to experience something beyond what I have been living in and doing, where I've kind of been comfortable and okay. Let's spice it up a little bit. But again, consciously, it's more so. And again, right now, I'm hoping to be like, no, actually, my experience was this. But like, consciously, okay, here's a situation I can do 2 weeks. It's all very like logistical. Feel me? But then on that spiritual realm, we don't often realize that we are putting ourselves into a class, into a course on expansion through the experiences that we're choosing. And so we're like a weekend or 48 hours in. And we're like, oh, this is like a 201. You know what I mean? Yeah, like another class I'm taking that's moving to a new level. So I really love that you brought that into the conversation. Um, but I did want to hit Rosemary. I know she's not here anymore. I hope that she does have a nice rest. Um, but I love how she says differentiating between someone asking for guidance or for solution helps her to be clear on what they expect. And if she can help them, and if she wants to give help or that guidance. I think that clarity is just so powerful, because for me, I I did used to have that savior, like, let me be the superhero complex, and I didn't realize that I was causing myself to suffer, because there were things that I could help with, but I didn't really want to help with. And then there were things that I couldn't help with because I didn't have the resources, that I really, really, really was trying to show up and be there and stretching myself thin and making my life a lot harder, when in fact they could have asked someone else, and that could have been a better.
Pull down practices. Like you said, so we breathing.
Yeah.
That is such a powerful tool that we can do any second, any minute, at any moment of any day. That we don't need to be in meditation. We don't need to be in a retreat. We don't need to be at a seminar. You literally can just take a breath and let the energy pass.
That's it.
That has been stored and built up within you. You can speak a word that reignites a feeling of knowing within you. There's these little simple tools that we have, and a lot of times we think it has to be so extravagant and so big, that we think, like, in regards to the first friend, I've had all these downloads and all these codes come to me, and now they're waiting for me to have the codes and the downloads, and I have to like reflect to them. But what am I awakening this holding space for compassion during this experience I'm feeling? Seeing the lens in which I'm experiencing it differently. So for you to try to force this is how the awakening has to be. Now you're limiting my awakening to your limited perception of what awakening is. And that's where a lot of times we get lost in the limitation of what we understand something to be, and then we project that limitation onto someone else. Y'all, we live in an infinite, limitless, abundant universe, so there's no way to do anything in this universe. That's why there's infinite ways that we can create it. So if someone ever sells you this idea that this is the only way that it has to be done, may I invite you to get the hell up out of that store, that shop, that house, whatever that place or thing is, because that is someone trying to force you into their box. We all have a free will to choose. Does this feel aligned? I love that you brought that into the conversation, Sumi, like seeing how you feel about it, because that is our dictator, that is our initiator, is the feeling. If it feels aligned, do I feel excited? Do I feel pulled? Do I feel called? Or do I feel like, I don't know. We all have that compass. I've said it before, but I just want to bring it to the conversation in this moment because I feel like we don't often have that connection to that internal knowing. So how you share, Sister Angelique, like we all have everything we need within us. And me knowing that, if someone tries to tell me that they have what I need in order to activate an awakening, of course it's gonna be like, boom, ain't coming in here, because I know that that is not something that is anyone's right to say for me. Because I know who I am. I know what I'm connected to. I've been doing my own work. So I just wanted to like bring that in because I feel like that is where we get into this misunderstanding that we need someone and we don't need anyone or anything. What we need to do is just honor everyone because y'all, we live in a time where like things are dismantling in this world on all levels, whether it's from this end or that end, and there's so much that can be involved from politics, gender, sex, religion, like all the things are just like dismantling. But what we're seeing is that these systems that we have been programmed to believe is true and that held power over us, it controls this, which made us feel a certain type of way. And there's a lot that we don't express at times. That's why I love that we have this space on Saturdays and that I get to express what I'm experiencing. A lot of times we hold it in and it builds and it builds and it builds. And that little thing that activates what have already been accumulated, now it's the volcano and everyone is getting erupted on. And that's how I used to show up, y'all. Like I used to be the explosion, how you were saying in a joking way, but it was my truth. I used to be like, okay, this is too much, get out, I can't deal with this. Because it was so much I wouldn't speak on that when I finally said something, I don't even want to hear nothing. I'm just gonna say what I need to say and you're gonna go where you need to go. And that's it. Versus now, I have the practice, I have the tools of knowing how to breathe, how to process, how to honor and release. And I'm able to ground myself and have uncomfortable conversations with not being activated in a yelling match or a right or wrong, good or bad. It's just a honoring of like, this is what we are, this is what I am. And y'all, it's so funny because I said this year, I'm calling in love in a relationship, right? So this is my test, though this is just a friend, but how to even have those conversations of what is in the life, because this is what I could tell someone that I think is like a potential partner, but I see it just isn't flowing. It's giving me practice of saying, you know what, this is just not in alignment. It's not a you thing, it's not a me thing, it just isn't a meant to be thing. And be okay. So you see how life says, if you're ready and willing, I'm going to give you practice for what's really coming, but you have to be ready to take the lessons and get the blessings.
Yes, it's like what Sumi was talking about earlier about the experiences. You know, life is about having these experiences. And I really appreciate that you brought in the, you know, what you're doing as far as being open to experience love and have partnership, because as we're doing this work and we're healing our forms of communication and self-expression, standing in our boundaries, it's easier to do that with strangers or coworkers or friends. However, when it comes to like intimate romantic relationships where we're really wanting to, where we have this feeling of love, where we have this feeling of attraction to somebody, and we have that natural human desire to also want to be seen as attractive, right? We can, kind of like Sumi was saying earlier, like shrink ourselves back, or like start to tone our voice down, or like not really talk about the things that are not in alignment because we don't want to mess up the situation. You know, we don't want to what is it called, uh, disrupt the waters. You feel me? We want everything to be still and copacetic, and we're just in peace and in love. And then 2 years later, boom, 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 boom. You know, because we haven't been having those conversations when things aren't aligning. And the tricky biscuit is, I was gonna say another word, but I'm gonna say tricky biscuit. The tricky biscuit is that if we are not able to communicate clearly with someone about what is not aligning with us with them, guess what? We probably aren't aligning with that person. And so whatever our attraction is not an authentic attraction because we're being phony. Especially if we're in this work and we've been doing these practices, if we're being with another person, and listen, I'm talking to myself right now. If we're being with another person and we're not honoring our practices, we are being phony and we're shrinking and regressing in our journey. And I think I'm so grateful that you brought that up because that's something I also need to be aware of and be mindful of as I am also opening myself up to unlimited love this year, right? Like just really being mindful that I can communicate clearly what is aligning with me, what my emotions are doing, what triggers are coming up. Because let me tell you, in my relationships, I have not done that. And I have so much love and compassion for myself when I think about who I was in those seasons and how I would be feeling these different emotions, or just, yeah, just different emotions, and having these challenges and not feeling like I could express that to people who I was in love with, in a relationship with, and feeling isolated in a relationship when I'm supposed to be feeling loved and embraced, you know? So I just really, I'm really grateful that you brought that up, because I was not always able to do that. And I know as I continue to invite in love and continue to even invite in just friendships and companionships, business partnerships, right? Whatever the relationship is, remaining steadfast and grounded in my practice of honoring my boundaries and articulating when things are not in alignment. So yeah, this conversation has been really phenomenal today.
So, what's coming through for you? Because I feel it.
Yeah, it's a few things. I just finished a series of a story that I was doing for my childhood, and I wrapped it up this morning on my narcissistic parents. Right,
Mhm.
one of my the biggest push I would say for that series was to basically expose that we can come from interesting backgrounds, like the worst of the worst, and we can still shine in the best of the best.
Mhm.
It was very important for me in all of my messages that I pass around, because I know that I'm here to pass the message. I'm here to be the message. I'm here to portray. I'm here to live in the message, right? So all of my stories that I always tell, I like to draw from, hey, I've been a bad girl, and hey, I can also be a good girl, okay? It doesn't mean this bad girl is the bad person, because guess what? this is the same person you're seeing right now that's maybe pretending to be good. There isn't reality and there is reality.
Mm.
It's the entire force, good and bad and ugly. It's all it needs to be expressed. It needs to be created. It cannot go anywhere else.
Mm.
It's all here forever and ever. It's always been here. It's always going to be here. So when I'm pulling in some examples and bringing my message in this way, it's to always keep in the reminder that we don't really have to demean ourselves when we even see that we're going outside of the norm. Whenever you feel like, oh my goodness, did I just yell? Did I just scream? Oh, I gotta pretend to be small. You know, sometimes you also want to express that, because if you don't, it's storing in your body. It's the reason why you got a shoulder ache.
Mm-hmm.
Why you can't stretch properly on this side or sit on this butt cheek or whatever.
Yep.
You know, it's so at the end of the day, you know, screaming or telling somebody, hey, please, you know, of course we can try as much as possible to be respectful. I've had to, when I want to swing by, I like get my car keys, run in my car, drive down the street to a park, and I'm like screaming top. You know, so I've learned to like, I can portray all of my emotions in freaking 5 minutes. It's just fascinating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed seeing every experience. I promise. I enjoyed seeing every experience that sounds like, Sumi, did you remember what you just did an hour ago? Did you ever had done that? Like, girl. You know, so always playing with yourself and not really coming from a place of judgment. You know, like, oh my God, why should I do that? You know, like, wow, I did that. Well, okay, I'm gonna go approach the person and do it properly, and then I'm gonna forgive myself right away. I'm not gonna wait an hour or till tomorrow. It's gonna get, because if you wait till tomorrow, you're storing somewhere. It's in holding.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just learning ourselves in ways that we can always communicate without really communicating. Everything's not really that serious at the same time. Do you really have to communicate it? Can you find others that could make sense? You know, everything is all about flow and basically understanding the persons around us, you know, how we can better communicate with them.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
The communication piece is the big piece, but also the honor is the bigger piece. And I love that you brought, like, it's really just allowing yourself to feel the emotion and not judging yourself, because that was one thing I battled with when I first got into this work. And I would feel bad. It's like, oh my God, I'm over here. I just said something that is mean. And now I have shrunken, or I have fell back from the work that I've been doing, versus no, that's just a form of expression. So thank you for bringing that awareness, because as you're on this healing journey, expansion journey, I won't say you're falling back into the old patterns or ways. You're just finding new ways of how to express old patterns and things that have been stored within you. And those new ways of expressing is how you're able to appreciate versus contemplate of how should I have said it this way? Should I have said it that way? Versus no, I appreciate that I was able to express myself. I'm grateful that I know how to feel anger and let it go, but not be attached to it. Because how you shared earlier, to me, it's like life is just moments that we experience. So if I'm able to have the experience, honor, feel, release, I don't carry it into the next one. And that's how we're able to have this sense of emptiness, so we're able to let things come in and move out, because that's really the ebbs and flow of what this experience is. Y'all, I knew today was going to be busy. I want to say thank y'all for supporting me, because I felt like today was like my topics, my experiences that I was sharing and needed to really express, because they were so fresh, so new. And I just needed to let them out. And I swear I feel so light. I feel so liberated. And I feel so held and supported. And that's the beauty of this space, is because it's really for us all. Sister and Angelique and I got the call to create it. But Sumi always says, I like to say she's an honorary host. Because whenever she's free and able, she comes and she just brings her perception and just her wisdom that flows through her, and it supports so many. So I thank you both for just your contribution to today's conversation and supporting me. Like, I won't say that enough because it really is what I needed in this moment. And I felt like I was held and I received this. So I thank you all. And I hope that this conversation has supported others that may be experiencing something similar, or you may have something that comes up and you're like, ooh, I got some tools, I got some techniques that will support me on my journey. But I'll leave it to Sister Angelique and Sumi to share before we close it out.
Yeah, I have been fed by this conversation as well, and I love that we can bring our real life, real time situations here and work through them. You know, um, I know a lot of other people and platforms, they can go into like the tea and the drama and just kind of get sucked up into that cycle. But here we can talk about experiences that have irritated us or rubbed us the wrong way, or, you know, just, brought up something for us and we can process here, right? And not just perpetuate the irritation. We can actually help each other gain clarity. And I really love that. And I also love how the universe brought me that situation this morning, so that I could be, so I'm like more tapped in, to the conversation. So yeah, it's just, and it's beautiful when we can allow ourselves to be open in that way. So I definitely invite people, if you're watching or listening to this, um, I encourage you, I invite you to be aware of when the universe, when spirit is bringing these situations to you, because the lessons are there, the growth is there. Um, so yeah, just having that mindfulness, I encourage you to take it on. But you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm not trying to push you. You're on your own journey.
I ain't trying to have the people say, do it now. What are you waiting for? Just do what you said. You invite and encourage you to at your own will and choice. So, you have any last things you want to share?
Just in continuation from what Angelique is sharing, is just my excitement to, get to really get into parts of myself that I've never experienced, or maybe not never experienced, but parts of myself that I have experienced, but I wasn't in flow when I experienced them. So now I'm able to remember them and experience them in much more deeper states of being. And guys, it's like a beautiful flower for me every morning when I wake up. I tend to be very good at forgetting things, and it's crazy. Maybe it's my ADHD, but sometimes I do these things, guys, where I just forget stuff, right? So because of my forgetfulness and my rememberingness, because both happening at the same time, I'm able to wake up every day excited and filled with life, filled with joy, and feel like I'm in this bliss all the time. It's insane. So, and it's because of my ability to just forget. I'm like, oh, that happened. And my kids, they'll come to me like, Mom, remember, we had this conversation 3 days ago. I'm like, can you remind me again? So I want to urge us, to continue to just dig into those pockets of places that feel inconvenient. That's where the answer is.
Yeah. And we'll end it there.
Yeah. That's where the answer is.
That was it. In those pockets of inconvenience and discomfort is where your solution lies.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just leave y'all with that to marinate, digest, and process, because I feel like anything else is going to overwhelm them. So thank y'all for joining us today. We'll be back next Saturday for Healing Conversation. We'll have another juicy topic and conversation to support you on your journey expansion and awareness. I love you both. I love you all. And I will see you. Where's my heart? Can I work no more?
Did I get it?
God knows. There we go. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.